In part 3 of this lesson, we will look at stabilization for video. It is important for videos not to have micro jitters, which make for an uncomfortable viewing experience. Micro jitters will happen if you're using a combination of a non-stabilized lens and a non-stabilized camera body. Some newer or higher end cameras include in-body stabilization, which means your footage will be stabilized to an extent even when you use a non-stabilized lens. Lenses that are stabilized are usually denoted with the letters IS, OS, OSS, or some variation of these letters. IS and OS stand for image stabilization, while OS stands for optical stabilization. OSS stands for Sony's optical steady shot. You can tell if your lens has stabilization by looking at the text on the front element, or look for a switch to turn IS on or off on the barrel of your lens. While micro jitters can be somewhat fixed in post-production through effects such as Premiere Pro's warp stabilizer, this can also introduce more problems. So in general, if you do not have image stabilized equipment, it is best to forego handheld and just shoot from a tripod. The micro jitter look immediately indicates a lack of quality and professionalism. Smartphones, on the other hand, typically have in-body stabilization, so micro jitter shouldn't be an issue if you're using a phone for recording footage. A tripod is an essential videography tool and should be paired with a pan and tilt head instead of simply a ball head. The tripod will allow you to have stationary video with no shakiness. With a pan and tilt head and the ability to change the height of the tripod, you will have many options in terms of video movement. Tripod footage can sometimes appear quite grounded, as it is relatively stationary, which can make the video appear quite corporate and boring. So when planning, you can try to incorporate a variety of camera movements to make things feel more fluid and exciting. These camera movements are creative tools and present creative decisions, which we will discuss further in the next lesson. Another option when you want a stabilized look that is not stationary but is also less shaky than the handheld look is to look into equipment such as shoulder rigs, gimbals, and Steadicams. Gimbals are motorized external stabilizers. Steadicams are similar to gimbals, except they balance your camera by employing weights instead of having an electronic motor. Shoulder rigs are also non-electric, as they simply create another point of contact on your body to stabilize footage. Each has a distinct look, which we will cover in the next lesson. That's the end of this lesson on the basics to operating cameras. We have covered the basics of operating the camera for video, covering frame rates and resolutions, exposure for video, and lastly, stabilizing footage. In the next lesson, we will explore some creative tools for operating cameras for video, including focus pulling, basic camera movements, framing, and color.